Yeah, quality.
It was from Charlie's birthday, that was it?
I belong to you.
I belong to
You do just what you want. You're the one I trust. And I always be wrong when you need some love and baby. No one else.
Put you down. Sing all my melodies.
Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to H Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 131. The show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, of course, you're home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please do give us a follow on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click that bell for notifications, and keep up to date on upcoming shows, series and guests. And of course, if you prefer your podcasts in audio form, then you can download all the shows we do, all the interviews we do at your favourite radio podcast platform. Just search Ace Podcast Nation and there is over 400 shows there on all sorts of subjects. And if you want to streamline your experience on social media, keep it football purely, follow at AC Footy Show on all social media platforms for just the football stuff. But as we wait for see if we got any latecomers, as obviously there's some championship football going on at the moment. But a big thank you to Black Diamond Sports, as ever, for all their support around the show. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, visit their social media pages and, of course, their website, the links to which are in the description below and the closing credits at the end of the show. And a thank you to Darren Ralston and Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the Andy Campbell shows. Darren is giving away a free will worth £140 with all new policies which are taken out. Please check him out, give him a call and don't miss out on this incredible offer. Tell him that we sent you, and of course he's looked after Andy for various policies over the years, including the critical illness, the injury cover. They are truly top of their field, provide award-winning service, and we are proud to have them associated with the channel, with the show. And of course, we thank them for sponsoring not just this show, but the football show on Monday. And with no further ado, the co-host with the most, he is the goal collector, still the fox in the box, still killing QPR dreams. He is the speed demon, David Jones' favourite son, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend. How the devil are you?
Good evening. Yeah, glad it's Friday. It's been a lot with what's going on in the world still, but yeah, looking forward to a nice weekend talking about football, reminiscing over the week. There's been loads of stories, loads of things that I really want to talk about. Loads of good things what have happened, and people living the dream side. We're gonna shortly, but yeah, there's been quite a few success stories over this week, which I like.
Indeed,
I like quite a lot.
Yeah, indeed. Which that's going to take us nicely into our first subject of the evening. But just wanted to quickly address something which Gavin said. He says he forgot to send in his worst dress sense picture. Never mind next time. Gavin, it's not too late, mate. If you want to DM it to the podcast page, you can still enter that. I'll let you, because you're a regular and a hardcore viewer who's here every week. If you send your picture of your worst dress to the podcast before the Kev show starts at 9:15 ish, then I'll let you still enter. But yeah, so what we decided, and is we're going to do a little bit of a new feature, mate, isn't it? So we're going to call it, I don't know, we're open to suggestions for names of the feature, but it's basically Championship alumni. Where are they now? And myself and you, we're going to pick a Championship player or someone who's played in the Championship at some point, and they've then moved on to a bigger club, another league. Maybe they're a manager now, and just kind of have a discussion about how they are doing. And I suppose I suggested this one, but we kind of come up with it together for the first one. The first one we're going to talk about is Jude Bellingham, mate. Obviously he moved to Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund in the summer. He picked them over United. A lot of people thought United made a lot of sense because of their history with young players. It was a brave decision at the age that he was to go abroad and not go to a club which is, in the Premier League, got, all the history which I just talked about. It's coming off, mate, isn't it? I mean, 30 million looks like a steal for them at the moment for a 17-year-old.
I think that and Marseille, what I think the most pleasing thing for me, that he got his first goal. He got his first goal for Borussia Dortmund. He got it against an English Premier League team where have a few missed an opportunity, a big opportunity, because obviously the talk was Man United, and the talk was Man United then loaning back to Birmingham City, which it makes a boy who wants to enhance his football career, and he's obviously gone to a club who's got huge potential in developing footballers, and whoever's decided the move, if it's his agent, his parents, himself, it's just been an absolutely fantastic move season. From the starting position or being sub, let's put that in context. Since he started at Birmingham City, yes, he started at 15. But he played 43 games for Birmingham City, and already in one season, he's played 24. He scored one goal. Had to adapt to a new culture, a new way of life, a different language, new teammates at a young age. And you know what? He needs to be given huge credit for that. I know we poke fun at Birmingham City about retiring his shirt, but and we always said this: the positives that we give Jude, whoever runs the social media, if it's him or family member or whoever, needs to give him huge credit, because his sense of humour, the way he handled himself, the way that he comes across, is just absolutely fun. He deserves huge credit for the way he's handled himself, and for me, I'm buzzing because England have got themselves an absolutely world beater. If he continues the way he's going, England are gonna reap the rewards. You know what I mean? Because in the continent, because his technical ability is going to come through. You know what I mean? He's going to be playing with world class players, even if he moves to a different club. You know what I mean? Overseas, Spain, Italy, wherever. You know what I mean? Or if he just comes to England,
back to the Premier League,
he's going to come to England to play. He's going to play now. I found disrespectful.
What I find astounding with him is and I think it's easy to forget because he's been on the scene now for a few years. He's 17 years old. He's not even old enough to drink. He is he's a little bit older than my oldest son, and when I think my oldest son, he's got pretty good head on his shoulders, etc. He's very big for his age. He's 6'2", but I could not imagine him playing. He's got to make the jump to men's football if he wants to continue playing football next year. And I just struggle to see it. And then you've got Jude Bellingham's playing Champions League football at the same, pretty much the same age, and to have the confidence, the belief in himself, to not only go and play with grown men, experienced world class footballers, but to go and do it. And I know he's only scored the one Champions League goal, but he's been playing well now for a few weeks. He's been coming on, he's been doing well, he's been playing well, he's been creating chances, he's been one of their better players in the bits, in the games that I've seen him play, and he's been one of the better players in the Dortmund team. So for someone, if he stays injury free and he continues his development, then of course England national team and football generally has got a new star, mate, because 17 and he's already and let's not forget, by the way, it wasn't just a goal, it was a very, 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 very good goal.
Yeah. I think we've got to take it in context side, not just his age. I think it took him time to adapt, and now he's playing games. You know what I mean? He played 79 minutes against Man City the other night. He played the full 90 at Man City away from home.
A game Dortmund had to win, by the way, as well.
Exactly. Yeah, totally agree. You know, he's playing. He's starting games. He's in the England squad. You know what I mean? His confidence must be. He must be on cloud nine training every time he goes on the pitch to play games. And we're talking about a lad here who's gone to a club where, when fans are allowed back in stadiums, by the way, and probably won't be long in Germany, because Germany seem to do things. Germany seem to do things a lot better than we do in this country. For Jude, how much are they going to be behind him? They're going to back him, and for me, I think he'll get better. I think that's possible. I think he'll get better. I think he'll bring more goals to his game, because he's now starting to bomb on, going the other side. He looks so composed. He looks so confident, and I'm pleased. We talk about players making the wrong decision, and for me, though, he took his time. He's probably turned down a couple of things that we don't know about. But for me, he's made a huge decision in his career football life, and for me, he's reaping the rewards by just taking his time up.
Well, it's the thing for me, as you know, I know someone who's got some really good contacts within Man United. And I know for a fact they rolled out the red carpet properly for him and his family. They showed him around everything. He met everyone. He didn't meet like the first team coach. He met Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and they did everything they could possibly do to get him and his family comfortable. They were going to buy him a house, all this different stuff. They wanted him. Make no mistake, they wanted him. And I think you only have to look on social media at the Manchester United fans' reactions when he's doing well to see that the fans wanted him as well. It's just one of those. It was a massive decision, because the easy decision is to go to United, isn't it, and take what would have been good money, stay in the UK, move to Manchester, history of young players, blah 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 blah. Play a couple of games off the bench. Maybe he didn't want to go back to Birmingham on loan. Like, for me, if I was a player, I'd either want to go or stay. I wouldn't want to go back on loan to the club I'm leaving, but that's just my personal preference.
But Si, on top of that, though, you look at the predicament that Birmingham City found himself in this season. Maybe as a player,
made a point about their squad.
He saw that maybe they were getting rid of players who weren't going to be as good as they were last year. You know what I mean, with a couple of younger players. So I agree. I think he saw a sinking ship, so to speak, and decided to look after himself, and he's reaping the rewards. And fair play to him, because it's great to see young players doing well. Yeah,
it is. Just to make a reference to Reese's comment there, Reese says, I think it helps that Birmingham had a young squad when he first started. It means you find yourself playing with your friends, which helps settle you in. And I think there's something to that. And I wonder whether, like, if you look at the Birmingham squad from a couple of years ago, we used to talk, or even last year, we were talking about they got this vibrant young squad, really exciting to watch. And they do seem to have moved a little bit more towards experience. Like, if you look at the teams they've played recently, maybe they've got one or two youngsters in there, but it was very much a core young squad with a couple of experienced players to help them along. So I wonder if, like you say,
we've got new managers,
maybe,
they've got a new manager coming in, so that changes the dynamic straight away. So for me, I think he's looked at the bigger picture and thought that the club's going in a different direction. The manager's obviously left, so for me, he's made an unbelievable decision, and he's playing for one of the best clubs in Europe. With a history, with a passionate football club. When that ground's rocking, by the way, and it's full. Yeah, there's no more passionate fans. With the colours and everything what goes with Borussia Dortmund, with the history. It's a huge football club.
Yeah, Gavin says there. He says confidence he's got is unbelievable. He plays like he's been playing for years. Nothing will faze him, and I think there's something to that as well. And I think, for me, the difference, I believe, or the thing which maybe tilted him towards Dortmund, is the same thing which Reece has made reference to then about why Ramsey went to Arsenal over United, and that is that Dortmund have got same history as United with young players, but Dortmund play them in the first team, whereas United do it a bit more cautiously. They gradually bring them in they put them on the bench maybe and don't use them for a few weeks, so they're in with the squad. Then they they'll give him 5 minutes. You look at what they're doing with Traore now. Like, they're playing him 10 minutes here and there in the cups and stuff. Whereas Dortmund,
totally
if you're
agree.
good enough, they play you. And that's what Arsenal did with Ramsey as well. So I think that probably had something. Which takes us on nicely to the European games this week, made for the second bit of any other business. What did you make of it all? So obviously we'll start with the Champions League. We've now got our semi-finals made. Liverpool went out to Real Madrid, and Dortmund lost to Man City in what was a really good game.
Listen, it's nice to see the British clubs doing well. It would have been nice for all three to go through, with obviously Chelsea, Liverpool,
Always one
and Man City.
One that lets you down, isn't there?
But then we haven't got the semi-final, an all-British semi-final, which is always quite heartbreaking. You know what I mean? An all-British final would be nice, but for me, I think Man City's name has got to be on something, because you know what I mean, that the goal 1-0 behind, they're out. You know what I mean? At one point at half time, and the comeback and the way the football, Phil Foden,
I was going to
just
say
so strong.
Phil Foden,
you know what I mean?
By the way,
Chelsea. I think apparently a lot more difficult than the way that Man City play, because they didn't play with the centre forward against Borussia Dortmund in 2 games. They play with that false 9, and it just confuses people. And people don't talk about Haaland, you know what I mean, and the best centre forward in he's a fantastic player, but Man City did a good job on him. You know what I mean? You've got Mbappe, you've got Neymar. You know what I mean? It brings a different dimension. You know what I mean? But they've got pace. You know what I mean? Haaland is big and strong. He's got a little bit of pace.
Dangerous players.
But for me, I think we're Paris defensively, and I think what they came out of it a little bit over the course of the last 2 weeks is Lewandowski not being able to play because of COVID. You know what I mean? I think they've got quite fortunate with that, but. You know what I mean? But listen, let's be honest. The semi-finals, 4 world-class teams in it. Real Madrid, you know what I mean, the history they've got against Chelsea. It's a big ask for Chelsea. And
Madrid the same team that they have been in previous seasons, or are they just kind of chugging along?
No. Yeah, nowhere near, Si. I don't think they're anywhere near as good as what they were. But the same as though they're picking results up, like beating Liverpool 3-1 at home. You know that it does that have an effect. Yeah, does it have an effect that they're not playing at the Bernabeu, and they're playing at the training ground or the reserve stadium, whichever you want to call it? Is that ethically right? You know what I mean? Players want to play in the real stadiums. You know what I mean? Listen, it's going to be a huge test for both clubs, because you know what I mean. I think Chelsea and Real Madrid will fancy the chances on the day, and I think it's about who can keep the clean. Madrid can win and keep a clean sheet at home. You always fancy Benzema to score a goal or something, or you always fancy Real Madrid to keep a clean sheet away from home like they did at Liverpool, and keep things quiet. You know what I mean? Courtois hasn't had a great time since he's gone to Real Madrid, but he seems to be. Yeah, he seems to be picking up a little bit now, and you've got people like Hazard, you know what I mean, coming back from injury. You've got other players, you know what I mean. They've got a squad to really hurt people if they start getting people on the pitch. But it's going to be great. Four relatively new sides in the semi-final. Yeah. in terms of football, Barcelona.
We'll go to the guys. Just asked who we've got in the 2 Euro finals. We'll go to that in a minute. We'll just talk about the Europa League quarterfinals first. But if Man City can keep the Paris strike force quiet, I think they'll win. That's what it's going to come down to, because defensively, I don't think Paris is what they were a couple of years ago when they had, peak Marquinhos and Thiago Silva and a couple of others who were just superb. But going forward, they've got Neymar, they've got Mbappe, they've got Angel Di Maria off the bench, they've got Herrera playing in that holding role. Like, they have got some very, very good footballers going forward. But Man City have got an all-round team that looks capable of beating anyone in the world on their day. So it'll be interesting. Chelsea's, I think I agree with you, I think they've got a tall order, but they've also got a couple of players, which, by the way, if Timo Werner suddenly remembers what a good footballer he is, he could be an incredible asset to Chelsea, not just the end of this season, but in the run-in, like in the Champions League, in the Premier League. Like, he could really make a difference if he just gets a bit of confidence all of a sudden.
Totally agree.
Gavin says Liverpool could have won 3-0 if Salah had taken his chances. It's one of those. Liverpool have got to really decide. Like, they're in almost a catch-22 now, because they do need to qualify for next year's Champions League. But in my opinion, it's like if you're not in the Champions League, you don't want to be in the Europa League when you've got a transition season, which Liverpool will be in transition next year. They need some players to sign some players, and do they really want to be bogged down in the Europa League when they're trying to do that? It'll be interesting.
It's a difficult one, Si. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you've got your Thursday night games, you've got your Sunday games. You're always playing catch up. You know what I mean? It's less rest because you could be playing at a Sunday lunchtime. You could be travelling back from all over Europe. You know what I mean? Russia, some long trips. You know what I mean? If you get on the wrong side of a bad drawing, it's difficult. You know what I mean? With the amount of rest, because you look at the teams who play in the Champions League on a Tuesday can still play on a Sunday or a Monday. So it's a game of it's a mental game, and you always hear the Europa League team managers complaining about lack of rest, because sometimes it's not great being in that competition, and managers sometimes would probably prefer not to be in it.
Indeed, mate. Sorry, I was just laughing at the photo which Gavin's just sent for the competition. Wow. So the Europa League, mate, that was quite an interesting little round of games. Arsenal looked dead and buried after their performance in the first leg. Came out and absolutely annihilated Slavia Prague. Were they missing the player who's banned for racism? Who knows? But I'm sure most people will be supporting Arsenal. Yeah,
I think on paper I was fully expecting Arsenal to go through with the size of the football club, with the players that they've got within the group. Villarreal, I think, were quite comfortable getting through the semi-final as well. So Villarreal against Arsenal is going to be for Arsenal. Villarreal have turned themselves around a little bit into a little bit of a force this season. So it'll be a difficult one for Arteta and the players to overcome, but they need to now, because it's potentially going to be a Man United final. I fully expect Man United to go in the final. I think I would have been a little bit, I'll be honest, with the way that he played and the younger players they've got. I see AS Roma as an ageing team. You look at Dzeko, obviously scored the goal yesterday. You've got Mkhitaryan, ex-Arsenal. You know what I mean? You've got other players who they're a little bit more. I mean, they've got. I like to think with the pace Man United have got and the energy they've got. The way that they can get goals home and away from various places, you know what I mean, and the experience from Cavani yesterday with the first goal and other areas, they've got pace to burn. I fully expect United to 2 games against Roma.
Yeah, I mean, one thing United have done well is they've picked up away goals in the important ties, and that's what they're capable of. It's an odd one though, because the Cavani thing I think could actually end up affecting their season, because I believe they'd probably like to extend his contract for another year. But if they do, I think it's going to upset him, because I think he wants to go back to Boca Juniors to finish his career. But United have got an option on him, and they're going to have to make that decision. There's probably some sort of deadline on it. They've got to make that choice. But incredible finish. And I wanted to ask you about what Riverside has just asked you about. But basically, Paul Pogba, by the way, was excellent against Granada in the first half. They took him off because they didn't want to get him sent off because he was booked. And in fairness to Solskjaer, he gets a lot of grief. He learnt from his mistakes with Fred earlier in the season, where he kept him on when he was on a yellow card, and the opposing team went down every time he made a challenge, trying to get him sent off, and he eventually got sent off. Solskjaer learnt by that. As soon as half-time came, he took Pogba off because the game was pretty much done and dusted. And that's what he should have done. So Pogba did an interview. I don't know if you've seen it. And in fairness to him, I'm sure Mourinho will come back and he will have a go at him for talking about him. In fairness to Pogba, if he's asked about something, he's got 2 choices. He can talk about it, and he can answer the questions, or he can, evade the questions. And then we all moan because these footballers, the managers, they're evading the questions. Why don't they just give us an honest answer? He gave an honest answer. He didn't tell us. He didn't say anything about Mourinho that we don't all think already. That he isolates and picks out players.
Everybody knows that comes out verbally after games. He's done it. He's done it against Dynamo Zagreb. He's done it in Premier League games where he says, that people will say it takes pressure off him. It does. Then he'll do it. He'll do the opposite the next week, where he'll have a go at himself, takes the pressure off the players, and then what he'll do in the Solskjaer the other day, that he when it is his post-match news conference, and did the whole conference about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and about all his kids and family, which deflects the whole football club. You know what I mean? Where he's very clever. So all Pogba's doing is just stating the fact himself. He's done all the research himself because he's done all these conversations. He's not made something up, but he's got first-hand experience that Paul Pogba was a Man United player. You can tell the relationship he had with Mourinho wasn't great. You know what I mean? And that wasn't Shaw's who Mourinho came out publicly and said he was overweight. You know what I mean? How does a player react when a manager tells him he's overweight and he's not fit enough? He's going to go negative straight away. I don't want to play for that manager. I don't want to run through a brick wall for that manager. If your manager tells you sliced bread, you're going to go above and beyond. So, for me, I don't think no one's got anyone to blame but themselves, and the manager's got to take the brunt of that. And all Paul Pogba's doing, and like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer done, and all the other players have done, is just tell the truth.
Yeah. What it will do is if Tottenham lose or play badly on the weekend, Mourinho will talk about that in his post-match interview to deflect again. And that was the point with all that stuff with Solskjaer against Spurs, is Spurs weren't very good against United, so Mourinho, instead of talking about that, talked about Solskjaer. Gaz asked us who we think is going to be in the finals of the two European competitions. Who do you think?
Good question. Sorry, Arsenal fans, but I'm going to go against Man United. I don't think it'll listen. If there's 4 English teams in the 4, that'll be amazing. Don't get me wrong, but I just think it's a little bit too far for a couple of them. So I'm going to go Man United against Villarreal in the Europa League. I'm going to go Man City against Real Madrid.
I'm going to go Chelsea versus Paris. I don't know. I think Chelsea will beat Madrid over 2 legs, but I can't decide. It's the Paris and the Man City when I'm really that could go either way for me.
Yeah.
Like if Paris,
can we tell Gav in the group chat that it's impossible for Arsenal against Ajax?
Yeah, Ajax are out, mate. So they ain't going nowhere. I'd say Chelsea versus one other because I can't pick between Man City and Paris, because on their day Paris could beat Man City 3-0, but also they could lose 3-0 as well. Yeah. The Europa League, I think United will beat Roma over 2 legs. I think we might see Man United versus Arsenal. To be honest, I'd
like it. Listen. I'd like it. Where the game's played, does anybody know where the finals are getting played this year?
I don't know. No, I'll find out in a minute. Although, one thing I will say about that is Villarreal have historically a very good European side in the last stages. So, it is what it is. Be interesting though, mate. We could have 2 English, 2 all-English finals in both competitions if things was to go...
Has Gav just picked every team possible to be in this Europa League?
United. No, he's just picked everyone except United. He's bitter because Liverpool have flaked this season. But it is what it is, mate. It is what it is. And then lastly, we talked about Roma. Chris Smalling signed for Roma permanently in the summer after being on there, doing very well on loan. And to be fair, he's done very well for him. He's got a knee injury at the moment, but he was at the game they played in midweek. And earlier this week, him and his family were robbed at gunpoint in their own home at the early hours of the morning. And I did want to ask you about the sort of effect that might have on a professional, because you've lived in different parts of the UK away from your family and stuff. He's moved abroad for a season on loan, decided, this is for me, taking his kids and his wife out. They've all moved out there to live, permanently, full time, whatever you want to call it, and then this happens. It's gotta change. It's gotta, for at least a second or at least a period of time, he has to wonder, should I go back to England? He has to. He wouldn't be human if he didn't think of it.
Listen, it's quite notorious. I know there was a big was quite a lot of Liverpool players whose partners' wives' houses got robbed when they were playing Champions League games. So it was happening quite a lot. I know it's happened to a couple of Man United players when they're playing big games in the Champions League during midweek on the night, and that you expect when the footballers is they're looked after a little bit, because they probably live in a gated community. They live in houses which have got CCTV cameras, harder things to in, for example. But that must scare you to death, because you know what I mean. It's not just the case of his son was there as well. His son was held, and does she and the son want to come back to the UK now to see the family, which leaves Chris Smalling in a country so difficult to comprehend and put yourself in that situation until you are in that real life. And I think it's absolutely disgusting that human beings can do that. You know what I mean? Just because they know he's not going to be there or he's going to be there, it's not fair. It's not right.
He was all there, and look, both me and you are fathers. I know for a fact there's a large portion of people in the chat who are fathers. But even if you're not a father, or a mother, you're a decent human being. For me, there's one thing being mugged or robbed as an adult when it affects your young children, and he's got young children, I believe, as well. That's a whole different ball game. Now, for me, if it was me, and I can only say what I would be thinking, I'd be thinking I want to get back to the UK, to my hometown, to where I'm close to family, even if it's just for the short term, just for a couple of weeks or whatever. But he's got to go training on Monday, or a couple of days time, whenever. He's got a game on the weekend if he's fit. It's so difficult, and he's got to concentrate on said game while his wife and kids are at home or wherever.
So that's the thing side for me. So next time he's going out on training, next time he's going to a game, he's thinking,
if they'll do it, if they'll do it when he's there, then they'll definitely do it when he's not. Do you know what I mean?
Totally agree. And how does she feel being left in the house on her own? Or, you know what I mean? Is she never going to be in the house? It opens a can of worms which doesn't need to be. Shouldn't have been opened. And it's such a shame that these to roam the streets, because it's disgusting. And I do feel for them, because they're just human beings. He's not a footballer. He's a human being. Yeah,
it's sad, and I wonder what's that going to do to his mindset, his career, and stuff like that. Riverside asks, did you move your family, Andy? Was it hard?
I selfishly moved my family every time I moved, because
you don't want to be away from them,
I couldn't do without them. I was quite lucky that my daughter was born in Wales when I was in Cardiff. We all moved. Well, I moved straight away. They all moved within a couple of days after, and it was it's difficult, because you've got to be very selfish and very driven when you play football, because it's you're at the drop of the hat. You could move to a different club, and it's everything which followed me. I appreciated all my family just dropping everything what they had, but you never probably sit back and reflect and ask, is that what they want to do? Because it's, like I say, it's a selfish industry, and at the time when you're in football and think that you're the person who's in charge, and if I moved from one country to another. I moved from Wales to Scotland, so I didn't really have much choice overnight to move, and my family joined me straight away. So I was grateful for that, because I had a young daughter at the time, and it was something that you just said, Si, if my family weren't with me at the time.
Yeah, I think I would struggle. I gotta be honest, being away from my family and stuff for any length of time. It's and
there wasn't any of these things. Well, it probably was out. You know what I mean? There's all this
like social Zoom, media and Zoom and stuff.
It wasn't. You know what I mean? It's not as easy to have a long-term relationship with people and keep in touch with people. Back then when the social media wasn't there and there was no, you know what I mean? It was a very lonely time and things when you were on your own. So yeah, it's a very difficult situation.
Reece, I'll come back to your question at the end of the show, because we want to get into the championship stuff now. But I will 100% come back to it. I've made a note. So, mate, championship was alive and kicking this week. So let's get straight into it. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Wycombe Wanderers, how was their week?
They only played at the weekend.
Only the once,
Obviously,
wasn't
after a couple of good results, they played Luton Town. They were 1-0 up at half time, and I thought I'd get them out the mire. About the second half, they were absolutely dreadful. They took the lead with the penalty, but then Knight got himself sent off needlessly, and then the game went sour with 10 minutes to go. They give 3 goals away in the last 10 minutes against good side opportunities, and playing against 10 men against a good side, you've got no chance. And when it went 1-1, Wickham had to go for it because they've got to win the game. You know that you can't sit back and just defend when you haven't got probably the resources to defend. And probably for me, the final nail in the coffin for Wickham Wanderers now. I can't see them getting out of it.
Yeah, I did think that they were going to pull it off at one point, but the second half performance was dreadful. When you think what's at stake and how good they've been recently, to perform at that level in the second half was weird. I know
they can only get 45 points, and there's 43 to get out of it. So if they lose tomorrow, one more defeat and they're down. Yeah. Basically.
Sheffield Wednesday next, mate. Best wishes to their manager, Mr. Moore, who's got pneumonia. But after they trounced, and I mean annihilated, Cardiff City, they've gone and absolutely fallen to pieces again.
Yeah, I echo your thoughts about Darren. I know Darren really well, and hope he gets well soon. But after watching Cardiff City be embarrassed by Sheffield Wednesday, I expected Sheffield Wednesday to go and kick on and go to the next level and definitely stay up. 100%. They were going to stay up in my eyes. They played 2 games. They've let 6 goals in 2 games. You know what I mean? 4-1 against QPR last Saturday is disastrous. And then at home against Sheffield Wednesday. At home against Swansea. Swansea aren't in great form as well, by the way. So for Swansea to turn them over quite comfortably again, they've left them. And to be honest, I know I keep going on about this, and I've said it before. That's 6 points. They would have been relegated, by the way, with those 6 points gone.
Yeah.
They can only get 47. If they lose another game from me, I can't see them getting out of it. And you look at the City, they played Blackburn, they played Middlesbrough, they played Nottingham Forest, and they played Derby. They're not the games. They're games against sides who've got no pressure, so they don't care. You know what I mean? So they're probably going to win. You know what I mean? They're probably going to they'll put kids out. You know what I mean? Middlesbrough potentially. You know what I mean? They're going to play with no pressure. There's going to be pressure on Sheffield Wednesday. They're going to play against sides who've got the pressure because the pressure's on both teams, and it's going to be, if Sheffield Wednesday go down, for me, it'll be the biggest story probably since Man City went down to the League One years ago. You know what I mean? Because this is the biggest football club in my generation who will probably go down to League One. It's huge, huge.
And to go down having been given those points back as well, I think reflects very badly on those players, the club as a whole, I got to say.
And the EFL.
And the EFL as well. The EFL, God, don't even get me started on them. And obviously Rotherham picked up 4 points over the week. They probably would have liked to have picked up at least 7, I think. But to pick 4 points over, they've gained 4 points on Sheffield Wednesday basically. So
so obviously they played 3. I look at the game side and think if there was one game they would have chose to win, I think they would have taken. This might sound stupid to everybody else, but if they'd have beat Coventry City and lost the other 2 games, they'd have gained ground on everybody else. You know what I mean? But Costa lost against the side in and around them. Obviously, they've got loads of games to catch up. They played Saturday against Huddersfield, they drew 0-0. They played on Tuesday against QPR, they won 3-1 after being 1-0 behind for a long time, by the way. I thought they were really good. Lewis Wing came on, changed the game. I thought he was excellent. On loan from Middlesbrough, very talented footballer. And then I watched the game and they were tired. I'll give them. I'll say that. I think they were leggy. They were all over the place. Coventry City were absolutely fantastic. Mark Robbins just played the tactics to the T. They got the winning goal with 20 minutes to go. Defended towards the end and fully deserved the result. For me, I think we'll keep Coventry City safe. I think they probably need 3 more points out of the 5 more games to keep them up. So Mark Robbins has done a tremendous job. I know we'll go through them in a minute, but Rotherham, yes, they've got games in hand over Derby. We're getting beat tonight. They've got 4 points behind. They've got to make those 4 points. Rotherham play Birmingham City tomorrow. They have to win that game. If they don't win that game tomorrow, I can't see them getting out of it. No, it's a 6 point
if they do
and
win
more
it,
tomorrow.
If they do win it, I think they're in a phenomenal position.
Derby County. Wayne Rooney will be struggling.
Yeah, I want to talk. I'm going to talk about Lewis Wing a little bit later on as well. I thought he was made such a difference. QPR as well. We'll talk about later on, mate. Jesus wept. I know we've kind of tongue in cheek said they're the most unpredictable. Like they're just unbelievable, mate. They played like it's like two different teams sometimes. It's
Scary.
Confusing, mate. We mentioned Wayne Rooney there, mate, and being the professionals that we are, we've linked very well into various subjects this evening. And Derby County and Wayne Rooney's another one. They're up next, and things are not looking good, I got to say. And I feel for Wayne Rooney. I hope they stay up because I want to see what he can do with Derby, with his own players, and a full season. But I worry that if they go down, he's not going to get that chance.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Listen, is it a poison chalice? Was it a job too big for him? After the previous couple of seasons where Frank Lampard's doing really well and another man, sometimes you need that pre-season to put your ideas in place with clubs. Derby's game against Norwich on Saturday was never going to be easy. By the way, it was always going to be a difficult one. They got beat 1-0, but it's games like tonight. I know we're going to talk about tonight's game on next Friday, but they're getting beat by Blackburn Rovers today. And Blackburn Rovers are not playing for anything. Can't go up, can't go down. So these are the games that you have to win. A win today will probably keep Derby County up. You know what I mean? But the way that the game's going, you know what I mean? You're 3 minutes away from in a mess that you shouldn't have been in. If Rotherham pick the result tomorrow, Derby County will be in severe trouble. By the way, and you're talking 2 Premier League clubs in the last few years might get relegated from the Championship to League One this year. That'd be absolutely massive.
Yeah, it's like if Derby go down, I don't believe it's down to Wayne Rooney. He
I totally agree.
But the damage was already done.
Totally agree. The reason Derby County what Derby County is how long the takeover took. How long it took to introduce a manager after Cocu got sacked. You know what I mean? It took weeks and weeks and weeks. Then they introduced Wayne as the manager. Clubs take too long in making these kind of decisions, and that must be a regret by the club. Just make a decision, get safe.
Penalty, Cardiff City. Sorry.
Oh, that's very late in the day. Very late in the day. No, it's all right. Our fingers crossed that Derby County that they're looking for, but then they have no divine right side to stay up. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting, mate. I feel for him, but I got a feeling that Derby might be the ones to go down. So next up, Huddersfield Town, mate.
Huddersfield Town. 1 point out of 2 games, so you know what I mean. They drew against Rotherham, which is a bad result, and then they lost against Bournemouth. Cardiff scored, by the way. Got beat 2-1 against Bournemouth, so it's disappointing. They've brought themselves into a predicament which they shouldn't have been in weeks ago. So they were safe as houses. You look at last year. Last year they got safe around this time, and they enjoyed the last couple of games with no pressure. They're gonna games because they didn't feel it last year. You know what I mean? They had a bad season but they finished strong. Now they're finishing really, really, really poorly. You know what I mean? They're only 1 point ahead of Derby. You know what I mean? If Rotherham win tomorrow, they're gonna be under a lot more pressure. It's going to be a difficult end to the season for a couple of clubs because obviously
bum plan.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, because we're going into Birmingham next, and obviously Birmingham play Rotherham tomorrow. Birmingham beat Stoke City on Saturday 2-0. I think Lee Boyer deserves huge credit for the way that he's turned things around. He's got his big players playing again. Jukovic, we spoke about last year as one of the best target men in the division on his day, but he's been standards. You know what I mean? He scored in Lee's first game. He scored 2 again on Saturday. So you know what I mean? Managers can get the best out of certain players, and if Lee Boyer can get the best out of Lucas Jukovic and the best out of Scott Horgan, then Birmingham City they'll fly up the league very quickly.
How far up do you think it goes in terms of who can go down? Is it Coventry and down, or is it Preston and down? I think Preston might just be safe.
I think 48 safe. I think you need 49. I think 49 is mathematically say for 50. So for me, being down, Coventry, Birmingham, Huddersfield and Derby will go along with Sheffield Wednesday and Wickham, and it's out of Rotherham and everyone else. Everyone else fighting for that one place now for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Coventry, mate, as well. Let's talk about them.
Obviously, Saturday they played against a good side in Bournemouth, got beat 4-1. Jonathan Woodgate, obviously, we'll touch on them in a minute because they've had a great few weeks, probably month. But then the big game, and the big game was Rotherham. You know, we talk about 6 pointers. It doesn't get any bigger than this. You know what I mean? And who were in League One last year and they've done well in the Championship. Mark Robbins is, for me, he's done a fabulous job. He stuck to a game plan, the way that they play. They haven't got their own home, so they're still playing at St Andrews. So everything's a little bit up in the air with the performance of the season against Rotherham and got the victory. And so absolutely huge credit for Mark and his team, because that one win, it could keep them up. You know what I mean? It could be that big, that result. I think for me they only need one more win, but that result could be a huge result. They're ahead of a couple of other teams, so it's in their favour. And
then we got Preston North End, mate, and they're safe. They're playing like it as well. They won. You know, they beat Swansea and then go and lose 5-0 to Brentford. Is playing like a team who knows they're safe.
Yeah, can't work it outside, because you just said there, you're talking about a bunch of players who they're so talented, it's unbelievable. You know what I mean? You can go through the squad, the attacking players. You know what I mean? You've got Barkhausen we rave about. You've got your young players like your Browns who score goals. You've got your Scott Sinclairs. You know, I find it incredible that they were in the playoffs all last season, and we were talking about them being the dark horses of getting promoted. And this season, they've turned in some awful performances, and to get beat 5-0 at home is disastrous at this time of the year, because have they just given up? Are the players looking at end of contracts? They're looking at moving away. What they look like they are, for me, in my eyes, and that's not good enough for a club the size of Preston.
Yeah, it was a dreadful performance, which, if they had anything to play for, you'd be kind of holding them more accountable to it, and you'd be saying, come on, you know, these players should hang their heads in shame. But ultimately, they've done enough to stay up. And like you say, it's coming to the end of contracts and things like that. It's frustrating. Next up, Forest, mate.
Nottingham Forest played at the weekend. They played against Bristol City. It wasn't a classic. I think Nottingham Forest will be a lot happier with the point. It's another point towards safety, which they are now. But Bristol City, for me, underachieving. Nottingham Forest will be happy to go there with a clean sheet, because it keeps them unbeaten in 4. It keeps the run going towards the end of the season. It gives Chris Hughton something to work on for the summer, to bring new players in, to redevelop his squad for next season, because Nottingham this year, they've massively underachieved as a squad of players and a group. They've got a lot of money in the bank still from people like Matty Cash leaving and other players, you know. So they've got the players on the squad side, but it's the paper means nothing. It's all about the players on the pitch.
Yeah, and you mentioned Bristol. They picked up a point versus Forest, and then they lost to Coventry as well, 3-1. They're all over the place. Their CEO is moving to Ipswich, moved to Ipswich, which I guess is, you know, that's where we're at now, where CEOs are making moves to different clubs. But Bristol, I gotta say, I think they're a bit of a shambles off the pitch, and they haven't been a great deal better on the pitch.
They've got good fundamentals. I see a lot of posts from Brian Tinney, and Brian's an ex midfielder, stroke defender for Bristol City. He works in the academy now, and he always is very proud to present some of his younger players who are getting games. So it shows that the youth team and the young players at Bristol City look very, very good, very strong. For me, give them a game. Stick them in to see if they're good enough. Get rid of some of the deadwood water there, and put those young players in, and give those young players an opportunity to go and progress their careers. Because if they're good enough, they'll shine through, and they'll by grabbing it with both hands. They'll love it. And people like Brian are doing a fantastic job getting young players through. But I look at some of the experienced players side; they're massively underachieved. You know what I mean? With a big squad, big contracts. But for me, it's about putting the yards in, putting the miles in on the. You know what I mean? Bristol City haven't won a game in 5 games. They've scored 1 goal in 5 games. That's not good enough. Not good enough.
Here's a question for you then, mate. So if it wasn't a new manager, would they be looking at sacking the manager with those results? If it wasn't for the fact that he's brand new.
Listen, if the old manager was still in place, he'd be gone tomorrow or today or yesterday, because the results have been disastrous. Hasn't been good enough. They're not scoring goals. They're still letting goals in. They're not doing it. It must be so frustrating for Nigel, because Nigel's a great manager. I think he'll have a huge in and out policy in the summer for players. You know what I mean? It'll be drastic. It'll probably be the biggest overhaul of players for a long time, and he'll get it right, because that's what he demands. He demands excellence, Big Nige, and I'm sure he'll ruffle a few feathers with owners, chairmen, other managers, football clubs, and get it right for his football club, because that's what he is. He's a born winner.
Yeah, they absolutely should play their youth players for the rest of the season, though.
Yeah.
Blackburn Rovers, they had a loss to Bournemouth, a draw to Cardiff, and they're beating Derby County with injury time to go.
Yeah, they've won. Yeah, they've won tonight. Obviously, they drew with Cardiff at the weekend, 2-2. Reading have just equalised. Drew 2-2. We spoke, Si, week in, week out about Adam Armstrong. Adam Armstrong, you take him out of the game either way, you know what I mean, and mark him and double up on him and stop the supply to him. Blackburn don't have many other options, and that's what I saw at the weekend, that you give him a chance, he'll score goals. He scored 2. You know what I mean, there's 90th minute equaliser. You give Lewis Holp, gave Adam Armstrong an opportunity in the box, he's going to take it, and he does, and he's a naturally born goal scorer. I've never seen a young player score that many goals like he does, and he won't be at Blackburn next year, I don't believe. You know what I mean? If Ollie Watkins and other kind of players have moved to the Premier League, he's got to be on somebody's shopping list. But an excellent result for Tony Mowbray, and he's got another positive result today. But it's fine margin side. You know what I mean? That 90th minute equaliser on Saturday pulls in a good result today. So it's just Cardiff have let in a 90th minute goal at the weekend, and they've let in the 95th minute equaliser today. You put those two results together,
week, doesn't it?
There's 4 points extra, and then you're looking at the playoffs. You know what I mean? So now, if Cardiff don't win today, I think the playoffs is more or less mathematically out of it, or there will be tomorrow. So it's just very disappointing tonight.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a wet, damp squid. We'll talk about that in a minute. Luton Town.
Luton, we spoke about Wickham. Disastrous until Wickham got the man sent off, and then all of a sudden, with 10 minutes to go, they get the 3 goals. And Luton have had a great season. I'm a big fan of George Munker in the midfield. His dad used to play for West Ham, so you know, if he's a player. So yeah, love those kind of stories. But yeah, great result, and just cements Luton Town's place in the Championship next year, which is thoroughly deserved, and so pleased for their football club, because they've had a fabulous season.
Yeah, they've been absolutely excellent this season, really enjoyable to watch as well. Proper football club. Very glad they're back there, staying in the Championship. Stoke City, all over the map again. A loss and a win.
Yeah.
Sorry, a loss.
Can't work them out. Yeah. Well, yeah, but just
they played on Friday as well, so
yeah, I can't work them out. I can't work them out. They go to Birmingham City. Yes, they've got nothing to play for, because they mathematically can't get in the playoffs. But you expect a reaction from players, Si. You know what I mean? They're still playing for the shirt. They're still playing for the fans. They're still themselves, because some will be out of contract, and they're playing for places next year. You know what I mean? You've got to pull out performances. You can't just down tools and just. It looks like certain teams' players have just thought, oh, do you know what? Holidays are around the corner. We've got 4 games left, no injuries. You know what I mean? And we'll just see the season. It's disrespectful for everybody. You know what I mean? You need to fight till the end, because Birmingham City fans, for example, you know what I mean, other clubs who are fighting relegation, you can have an impact on promotion and relegation if you're playing against those right teams.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And talking of teams who are all over the map, QPR still all over the map, mate.
Yeah, can't work it out. They played 2 games this week, and this is QPR all over. 4-1 against Sheffield Wednesday and 3-1 against Rotherham. A win and a defeat. It's just, I always look at sides QPR Scored 48 goals, let 50 in. So that means if you win 3-0 one week, you lose 3-0 the next. And that is QPR all over the place. And QPR fans will be delighted with being 11th in the league, because we speak about them sometimes being beaten, but they've obviously turned it around with some good results, because they've got themselves 56 points. They've beaten some very good sides. They've scored some very good goals. They've got some very good players. Chair's a fantastic footballer. Will he be able to keep him? You know what I mean? Because they've had some good players last year and they ended up losing them to Premier League side. Keep hold of players and add to it and go to that other level if they can potentially get to that next level. But there's so many unpredictable teams in the Championship. It's absolutely scary.
Indeed, mate. It's frightening stuff. And I think with QPR is when they're good, they're very, very good. And when they're bad, they're very, very bad. Which means they lose games heavily and they win games by a lot. Which is one of them. Next up, is it Millwall or Middlesbrough? I can't remember which way around it was.
Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough.
Yeah, Middlesbrough played Barnsley at the weekend. Wasn't great. I wasn't impressed with the team selection. I wasn't impressed with the tactics. I think we were sitting ducks waiting for Barnsley to beat us. They got the first goal from a mistake by the goal in the corner. Doesn't help when you score straight from a corner. It just probably reiterates that you're not going to get in the playoffs, and you haven't been good enough to get in the playoffs. But for me, I'm not going to be negative about it, because I've said all along, I'm happy where they are in the league, because I think this is a fantastic move by the football club in saving off relegation last year, where they are today. But I understand fans' frustration as well, because they're getting beat by Barnsley, and Barnsley escaped relegation the same as Middlesbrough in the last game, and they're now in the playoffs, so they expect that to happen to them as well. But it's about progression. You've got to progress in the right manner. Barnsley, for me, have got probably more pace, more exciting young players in certain areas than Middlesbrough have, and to create a lot more chances than Middlesbrough do. So sometimes you've got to give credit where credit's due to different sides. But they're not mathematically out of the playoffs yet to get in the playoffs, but it will be tomorrow by the time that game finishes. But another team's finished. But listen, for me, it's been a decent season.
Yeah, Gavin says, what a difference Neil Warnock has made.
Oh, listen, I can't thank him enough. He saved my football club from relegation last year. He's put Middlesbrough in the top 10 this year. Next season, I expect him to put Middlesbrough in the playoffs, and let's see what happens after that.
Indeed. Millwall, mate, not the best week. Pretty poor against Swansea, but they did pick up a victory versus Stoke.
Awful against Swansea at home. Swansea are coming off, obviously, a really difficult run of games. Again, I know we speak about these fine margins, but his timings of goals, and Millwall give a goal away, but just deep into injury time in the first half, and you can't react from it. You know what I mean? The manager then makes 3 substitutions. Kenneth Hall came on for Millwall out a little bit, but then the second goal happened straight away, and by then it's game over. And then you're chasing games and you lose the third one, and the result looks probably worse than it should. But I think Millwall will be quite pleased and content with where they are. That they won't be in the playoffs, because I think the gap's too big in my opinion. But but I think they'll be happy where they've progressed, because Millwall are battling it out, by the way, with some clubs who are still on Premier League wages, still on from parachute payments, so they've got to be pleased.
Very pleased. I think it's been a good season for them. And then now you've got Cardiff City stuffed to Sheffield Wednesday. Last minute equaliser versus Blackburn. Last minute equaliser versus Reading. And to be honest, mate, this is why I said that they needed to wait before dishing out new contracts and things, because they went on this amazing run. And someone just put in the chat, can't believe Cardiff have missed out on the playoffs after going on that run of winning games. And it is like they were in such a good position. The international break coming, it has completely, it's stuffed up their momentum. But they didn't need to make... I'm not saying whether they should or they shouldn't have given Mick McCarthy a new contract. I think he's done a great job. But they didn't need to make that decision now. And that's what bugs me, because they've not given themselves the opportunity to look at it at the end of the season and say, right, is he the right man for the job? Look at what he's done in games. Like, some of his substitutions haven't been that great, in my opinion. Like, they could have gone back and looked at all that stuff, and they can't now because they've given him whatever it was, 2-year, 3-year contract. They got excited.
I also look at the last 2 games. You can look at tonight. Obviously, I didn't watch the second half. Watched the first half. It wasn't great. They had a couple of half chances in the first half. I think Reading dominate the possession like you're probably expecting, being the way that Cardiff City play. Dropped against Blackburn Rovers with a 90th minute equaliser from Adam Armstrong. That would have put them up to 62. 2 more points tonight. That puts them up to 64. Yes, they're still quite a few points away from the playoffs, but it still puts pressure on the other teams. Now the teams ahead of them are feeling no pressure because Cardiff City have dropped 2 points, and they'll be the most relieved teams in the world because Reading have dropped points. Barnsley and Bournemouth tomorrow, for me, they both got 3 games because there's nothing on. Then they're both in the playoffs. If they lose, they can regroup and go again, and there's no pressure on them because the gap's 4 points off Reading, and it's 11 points off Cardiff City. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, just very quickly on that Mick McCarthy thing. Gavin says they did have to make the decision because Celtic was sniffing around Mick McCarthy. There's no way, and I mean no way, that Mick McCarthy was ever getting that Celtic job. I with all due respect, he was never going to get that job. Like, if you think when you've got Steven Gerrard having just won the league for Rangers, there was no way Celtic were going to combat Steven Gerrard winning the league title with Rangers for the first time in however many years. There was no way they would combat that with Mick McCarthy, because the Celtic fans would have had the same reaction that a lot of Cardiff fans had, except there's more Celtic fans and they're more vocal. I just, I do get why people say that, and we talked about it at the time, the Celtic and the Cardiff thing, but it is what it is. Next up, Reading, who have obviously just, that's going to feel like a win to them tonight. That keeps them in the playoff hunt. That point against Cardiff,
it gives them a glimmer of hope. They lost against Watford on Friday night. Last Friday, and they've drawn today, so they're having a bit of a bad time. I can't see them getting back into it now. I can't see them getting enough points. They're on a really bad run.
They got left to play.
They play Luton Town away, Swansea at home, Norwich away, and Huddersfield at home. So they've got some really tough games. Yeah, they probably need 9 points.
Really, even if Swansea are not close enough to them that it would make a difference, if that makes sense. They're not playing anyone. Yeah. They're not playing Barnsley or Bournemouth or someone around them, which is what you want in that situation. When you're 4 points off or whatever, you need to be playing those teams around you. And let's be honest, moving on to Barnsley, mate. Barnsley on fire. Still going.
Well, Barnsley were excellent against Middlesbrough. I thought they were a standout team. I thought they passed the ball well, they created chances, got in behind us over and over. And then I look at the last 5 games side. So they play Coventry City away, Huddersfield away, Dun away. So for me, I can't see them losing any of those games. I know they could lose them all. That's just this is my opinion. But then they play Norwich City last game of the season. Norwich will have already won the league or be promoted. So there's just not. It's all in Barnsley's favour. Playoff place to lose from here on in. If they don't get it, they've got nobody to blame.
Yeah, they have, but also, no one expected them to be in this position either, did they? And no, don't get me wrong, if they was to miss out on it in the last game, it's going to be devastating. But on paper, Barnsley are not the team that anyone expected to be there. The one thing which is...
You wouldn't like to play them in the playoff side as well. No, I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs.
The one thing I am getting a bit disappointed about is that for our last day watch along, everything could already be done and dusted. So there's nothing on it.
I know.
Maybe we'll have to switch it to a playoff watch along or something.
Yeah,
we'll have to come up with something.
If it's all Yeah, if it's all done and dusted, then nothing can happen.
Seems
I'm a
silly,
bit of a
doesn't it?
damn squid. So yeah, we'll
But
think we'll
we
do
have
something.
got lots and lots of content and shows coming in the Euros, mate. Obviously, we've been lining up some what would you call them? Guests, analysts, whatever. So they've
yeah,
got
I'd
some
probably call
stuff.
regular analysts from certain countries which we can utilise, and give their
Indeed.
opinions on their own countries, because we're passionate. We like our football. We talk about our football, but people from their own countries sometimes can give you a better opinion and be critical.
Yeah.
Because you know me, if England aren't playing very well, I'll tell you the truth. If they're playing well, I'll tell you the truth. And it's not about being bitter or anything. You know what I mean? For me, I can give an opinion on England because it's my country.
Indeed, and it's going to be good to get some different voices as well during those Euros games and stuff as well. Bournemouth next, mate.
Jonathan Woodgate needs to take huge credit for the job he's done. They've won the last 4 games. They've won 2 games this week. They beat Coventry 4-1, which is a great result. And they're scoring goals, they're creating chances, they're playing with confidence. They've got the spark back at just the right time. Too late to go up automatically, but they're going to probably cement a playoff place tomorrow, potentially, or next weekend. And the teams you just wouldn't want to play because they've got Premier League footballers in that group, and the playoffs are going to be extraordinary, by the way. You know what I mean? Because if it is the 4 teams that are in there, all 4 of those teams on their day could beat you. You know what I mean? So it's going to be it'll be fascinating because there's some very good football inside in the playoff positions right now.
Well, the interesting thing is about those 4 teams is Brentford beat Preston 5-0 in their last game. Swansea have won 3-0 and 2-0 in their last 2 games. Barnsley have been on fire. They're all hitting, top form
at the right time.
It's going to be really interesting.
Someone's got to give.
Brentford, so yeah, we just mentioned them quickly. They
scary
had
sign.
a cracking week.
Yeah, scary. You know what I mean? Yeah, we've raved about their front men last year. You know what I mean? Now you've got this year. You've still got your Ivan Toney's, your Force, and Buemos. They've swapped 3 excellent centre forwards last year and strikers for 3 more this year. I don't know how they keep doing it. I'll be honest. You know what I mean?
It's incredible, mate. To do what they do.
Frightening. It's
to lose
their
the players they
recruitment,
lost.
the football club. I do hope that Brentford find themselves in the Premier League, because my fear for Brentford, sooner rather than later, if they don't go up, the players are going to disperse because they can't keep on playing in the Championship along with the manager, because they want to go and play higher. You've got your Ivan Toney's. Surely someone's going to take a risk on Ivan Toney and stick him in the Premier League. Someone's going to take a risk on some of the other players, because they're good footballers. But I can't see those kind of players wanting to sit it out in the Championship for too many more seasons.
Indeed, I completely agree, mate. Swansea City, like we mentioned, they've been on some pretty good form again now after they started
great
a bit
week.
after the Cardiff loss.
Yeah, great week. They've had 2 games this week. They won 3-0 and 2-0. Two away games, Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday, respectively. They've turned the tide at the right time. They've got themselves in a position now that they can probably handpick which position they want to be in. They've still got a mathematically shout on Watford, but for me, 7 points is too much to ask. But they're still going to have a part to play with the rest of the season, because they've got a decision to make, because do they keep playing all their best players for the playoffs, or do they start winding down in the next 2 or 3 weeks and save players for the big games coming up, because they've got to perform in the playoffs?
For me, mate, I just think the Championship season is so long and hard. You've got to rest players. Rest a couple of players rest your big young, particularly some of those younger boys who've played all season. You rest them now for a game or 2 so they're fresh going into the playoffs. You have to.
But interestingly enough, Si, their last game of the season this season is Watford away, so that could lose a couple of games.
Well,
and
mate,
they beat Wickham, QPR, Reading, Derby. And
they could get automatics, mate, couldn't they? They could pinch it on the last day of the season. And bear in mind, last season they pinched a playoff place on the last day of the season. So for them to go and do that,
we're not doing a watch along. We're not doing a watch along for that.
No. They're literally stealing a place. Watford, next. Let's move away from that quickly. Watford.
They beat Reading 2-0. Like they're going along like a train. They've won 8 out of the last 9. So listen, Watford are doing great. So
Watford and Norwich,
they're doing great. It's
just celebrating now, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got points on the board. They play Luton Town, and then they play the big one against Norwich. You know what I mean? So there's opportunities to lose games along the way, but they've also got to win them as well. So it's going to be an enthralling way to finish. But I think if Watford don't get absolutely disastrous, it'd be a disaster for the football club.
Yeah, it'd be a problem, wouldn't it? And you wonder if they miss out on automatics, how will they react in the playoffs? Like where will you seeing what Forest were like this season after missing out on a playoff place? It does have a psychological effect. And then last team of the week for us, Norwich City 7-0 and 1-0. Quite the week. Unbelievable. Yeah,
listen, they've had another great week. Beat Derby on Saturday 1-0, fantastic. Games are very interesting. They play Bournemouth tomorrow at home. Then they play Watford at home. Then they play QPR away, and then they play Reading at home and Barnsley away. So if they had to win all them games, they've got the hardest running I've ever seen. But they've got the players. Like I've just said there, other managers have got decisions to make. Do the rest players in big games? You don't want injuries, you don't want suspensions, you don't want players not match fit and sharp. You know what I mean? You've got to think of the bigger picture, especially the and the Barnsleys. And you know what I mean. Maybe it's the Reddings. You just don't know. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah. So let's go to 2 ups and 2 downs, mate. Let's start with the negatives. 2 downs for the week, mate. What you got?
Gone for Middlesbrough's goalkeeper, Bettinelli. Letting the goal in straight from a corner. I just think it's just not good enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yes, there's people in front of him who potentially could have helped him out, but it's goalkeeper's the last line of defence, and for me, that person should have and could have done better.
I agree, mate. We'll come back to that question from Kelly there. We got a question from Reese as well. I've gone for 2 general downs this week. I've gone for Wickham's second half performance. I think it was against QPR, I forget now.
Luton.
Check that. Luton, sorry. They was absolutely appalling, mate. They were 1-0 up, and it would have been such a good result with so much riding on it, and off the back of a big win, like that was their chance to really push on and maybe have a squeak of staying up. Yeah. And to come out and play like that, it was very, very disappointing.
Agree.
So that was my first down.
Agree. My second down, my second one down. I've jumped on that. I'm going to piggyback you there, but I'm going to pick an individual out. So I've gone. I saw that as the catalyst of that bad performance, and the way that you can crumble with 10 minutes to go. You've got to take some responsibility and know you've let your team down and your teammates down and your fans down. So, Josh Knight for his red card.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, mate. My second down is Preston North End for their performance when they lost 5-0. I really, really thought that they played, I think I mentioned earlier, like they played like a team who's got nothing to play for, but that's not acceptable to the fans. I know there's no fans in the ground, so you haven't got that.
Hang on.
But you've still got to play with a bit of pride.
How would they react? How would they react if they did? Would they try harder? But if they try harder when fans are there, then do it when they're not.
Spot on, mate. And I really think it was that bad. By the way, it was schoolboy. What's your first up, mate?
Oh, do you know what? There's loads. There's so absolutely loads.
I've tried to go for a couple of different ones this week as well.
Loads. My first one, I'm going to go for Lucas Jukovic for his 2 goals in the 2-0 win against Stoke. I've been giving it probably since last year. So I'm going to go with him. I think he looks like he's back to his best under a new manager because he's had a poor season. So I think a positive. Hopefully, he can start turning things around because I watched him at Middlesbrough years ago and I thought he was a very talented boy and footballer. So I'm going to give it to Lucas.
Yeah, Yeah, it was very good performance, and he was very good last year, and he hasn't had a good season this year, so hopefully he can finish the season well. So I tried to vary up a bit this week, go for people and teams which maybe are not not the Pookies of the world, and Norwich every week. I gone for Lyndon Dykes of QPR, scored 2 goals and an absolute phenomenal performance versus Sheffield Wednesday. I don't want to sound bitter, but Sheffield Wednesday should already be down. And this was probably the result which has sent them down. But not just, I didn't pick him because of that, but that's just like an added thing for me as a football fan. But if I'm being just impartial and analysing it, Lyndon Dykes was phenomenal. Great performance, 2 goals, can't fault him. What's a second up, mate?
I was thinking Brentford winning 5-0. I was thinking side. I was thinking Barnsley's continuation. I'm going to go Adam Armstrong because he hasn't scored as many goals as he has recently. He's had a good week. He scored 2 goals against Cardiff, his second goal there. Scored tonight as well against Derby. No, he didn't. So obviously that goes out the window. But he set one up, so I'll still stick with it. So I think, you know what I mean. He hasn't had a good month, but he's come back to his best, and he's a natural ball goal scorer. You know, I look at the size of him. He's a smallish centre forward playing against big, strong men week in, week out, but he seems to get the best of him all the time, and especially the Giants that Cardiff City have in defence, that he still finds gaps in the defence to score the goals. So I'll get it for Adam, even though he annoyed me on the weekend.
Good shout, mate. So I'm going to do this, and my analysis or description is going to be 2 words, and that's all I'm going to say. Lewis Wing, Rotherham United, on loan from Boro. Analysis, game changer.
Good footballer, Si. Good football. And this is a boy, by the way, who a few seasons ago was playing in probably the lowest step of football you can imagine. He was getting paid probably cash in hand, peanuts a week, and then broke his neck in terms of wanting to get that opportunity. And look where he is now. You know, he's unbelievable. Fair play to him.
Yeah, Holgate that says,
Holgate.
Hello lads, just watching for the first time. Good stuff. Up the Borough.
Thanks for watching. Come back, please
come
do.
Back Monday.
Love the Holgate end.
Great guest on Monday. Gavin says Barnsley would be his up. Craig says Derby would be his down. Gaz says fantastic show. Gaz sent a super chat earlier as well. Thanks for that, Gaz. I really appreciate it. Just to finish this off, we had a couple of questions which I saved. One from Kelly and one from Reese. So the one from Reese, mate, was where's he gone? 7:38. Come on, Simon, tell the time. There we go. So it says, Andy, when moving to a new club, do players buy a house or do they just rent? And what happens if they do leave? Do they usually just sell up?
I think it all depends on length of contract. You know that when I signed for Cardiff, I wanted to buy into Cardiff City, so I bought a house. I loved the area where I lived, and then got sold and had to sell up straight away because I'm never going to live in that house again. So it was a difficult one because when you're living in your dream house in a lovely area with people who you really respect and really like in that area, it's really difficult. But then I've been at other clubs where my contract's not been as long. I went up to Scotland and I was only there for probably 9 months, so I rented for the 9 months I was there. But still content, happy. Lived in a lovely place of Edinburgh. And yeah, it's just players can differ. Players can buy a house in the area that they're going to live when they retire, and then rent and move. I know players do various things, but it's a short career, so it all depends. Some people can live in the same house, and it's that would be quite fortunate and quite lucky. And then the kids are settled, families are settled, and yeah, I've never come across many of those kind of players though, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, mate, indeed. And Kelly said, have 3 relegated teams ever gone straight back up? Sorry, because you could possibly end up with Norwich, Watford, and Bournemouth all going back up.
I don't think all 3 of them.
I think it was Gavin. Gavin said in the chat he thinks that it has happened before.
I don't know. I think definitely 2. I think I don't know. It's a good quiz question.
Indeed, mate. I think it is. Gavin said, where did you live when you lived in Cardiff? His guess is Cowbridge.
I lived in Rada.
Boop boop.
I lived in Rada
All the cool kids
with
did.
my side.
Yeah, that's how we met
How we
for the
rolled.
first time. Craig Sullivan says all 3 promoted have gone down. Right.
But that doesn't surprise you, by the way, because of the money is involved and spending powers and stuff. But
yeah,
let's
of course.
see next
It's
year.
just Cardiff used their parachute payment particularly bad. That's why everyone's so shocked by it, I think. Yes, Gavin, the Radar Arms, the best pub ever. But okay. So, Monday evening, a couple of scheduling notes. Monday evening, 7:30, we have got Newport County's, or he's on loan at Exeter City, Robbie Wilmot joining us. That's going to be a very interesting chat. Great to have another current footballer on as well. It's going to be real good. And also Sunday evening, a new episode of My Story with the actor, filmmaker and TalkSport presenter Johnny Owen is my guest. Really, really good show, that one. I really enjoyed it. He is an absolute legend of a man, but it's a good one. I can't recommend it. I've got to be honest. Got some great guests coming up over the next few weeks on the channel, on the Andy Campbell Football Show every Monday. But I'll also be back 9 o'clock in about half hour with Super Kev Unscripted. And it's going to be a good one. We'll be doing a competition for the worst dressed from all the people who sent in photos. And we'll be doing our new feature, Room 101, which is going to be good because it's just going to be 2 old men moaning about stuff they don't like. But Andy, as ever, mate, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, mate, loved every minute of it. Loved doing the show. Love all the comments. Can't wait for Monday. I think having a current player, you can't beat talking sometimes to a current player and
Yeah, it's been good.
and where he began, where he is, where he's going. You know what I mean? Because that's another thing. Because I'm guessing potentially, I don't know, but I'm guessing he's potentially going to be out concerns. What worries has he got? I'd like to hear those kind of comments because it's been a long time since I was out of contract.
Yeah, you've talked in a lot on various shows about like the benefits of the loan system, and it'd be good to get a current player, not just a current player, but a current player who's using that system to get their thoughts. And this is what I love about the people who watch our shows is Craig says, I'm reading up about Monday's guest, looks like he will have a few great stories. And they go, like, people don't just turn up and watch, they look into the person,
do the research,
so they can ask, so they can ask good questions and proper questions instead of just the usual. And that's what I love about it. That's what I love about the people. Thank you to everyone, as ever, all the hardcores who came and joined us, even though Cardiff were playing. I appreciate that massively. We'll be back on Monday, but don't forget My Story is Sunday, and of course Super Kevin scripted in about half an hour. It's always a good time. Until then, we bid you a farewell. Have a good one.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.